Okay. Welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Forest Business Alliance Peer Learning Network. And so glad to have you all here. We've got a panel coming up today, so we've got a lot of good information and great presentations coming. And we'll just do a couple minutes of a welcome and an intro. In just a moment, we'll go around and invite folks to introduce themselves briefly. And then we'll have a panel on biomass. And before we get started, just a quick reminder that in May is our first in-person meeting, which is May 10th. And Vance, do you have the link handy to put that in the chat in case folks haven't yet registered? Or when you have,
I'll put it in there.
Okay. And that is is it Plumas County?
Well, no, yes, it is, isn't it, Zach?
Okay, we're testing my California.
Yeah. No, it's in
Yeah,
Plumas. You got it.
For a second there, I was like, what? Yeah.
And yeah, so that Eventbrite link that Vance will put in the chat shortly is the place to sign up for that. That'll also serve as the monthly meeting for the network in person. There will be a meeting like in the morning tour, and then Zach and crew will be taking over and giving a tour of some of their facilities. So more information in that, and we've sent an email about it as well. And I'll make a note whenever it's in the chat so that you can do that. But we would like to have RSVPs. If you can make that happen, it would be great. There it is. Thanks so much, Vance. So there is the site to register for that. It is free. We just need RSVPs to know how many people can make it. Anything else, Vance, that you want to share? Thanks for everyone for putting your info in the chats. And
if you haven't signed up for it yet, the link to the Peer Learning Network listserv in the chat.
Great. Yeah, we have a Google listserv as well that we're sending out. So it should be a little more consolidated for sending out messages and more easy to facilitate that way. And then you can also go back and find messages on the Google listserv. So that's the second link that Vance included, if you want to register for that. And these aren't like going to spam you. They're, once or twice a month, but we send updates and information. Anything else, Vance, that you want to announce before we get started?
It says content unavailable when I click the second link. Is anyone else having that problem?
Oh, sorry, that's the wrong link.
Here, it doesn't say that for me. I wonder if it's because I'm already in it.
Try that one, Mika.
I'm not a member.
Yeah, I don't know if that link's gonna work, Vance. The first one worked for me, but it's because I'm already a member.
I thought that, well,
We'll troubleshoot it.
Yeah. If you want to join and I don't put it up, just like put your email in the chat and I'll add you manually. We've had some trouble with adding folks. So yeah.
Thanks for letting us know that, Mika. So if that link isn't working, you can put the chat and Vance will add folks manually. So let's get started with a round of introductions. We have some new folks and some folks have been here before. And so we'll just kind of go round robin and just unmute yourself. Just give your name, where you're from, a little bit about what you do. If you're new to the network, maybe just take an extra 30 seconds and say a little bit more. This doesn't need to be a long time, and we're not doing like a lot of project introductions or project updates right now because we do have a panel with 5 presenters and we want to make sure we have time for that and a lot of Q&A. So just a quick hello to kind of make sure everybody is refamiliarized with who's in the room. So who would like to start? Dave, you're unmuted. Do you want to just start? David Morrell?
Oh, I'm unmuted, so I can start. David Morrell, I'm with the Sonoma Ecology Center, long-term chair. We've been very active in biochar and resilient forests and have been successful with several CAL FIRE grants focused particularly on green schoolyards lately, but earlier on biochar activities. Lots more about all of that, including flame cap kilns as an incredibly powerful device for those who are interested. And I've had the pleasure of working with Jim and Vance on some project development work.
Great. Thanks so much, David. I'll just go in order that I see the Brady Bunch here in my screen. So Joel, do you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. Vance invited me to do a presentation today. Timber operator, I've worked construction my whole life and based in Butte County.
Thanks, Joel. Zach.
Hey everybody, Zach Browning. I'm with the Sierra Institute. Vance reached out to me about doing a field tour up at our facilities, which I'm super excited about. Just got invited to come here and get to meet some of y'all. Looking forward to meeting some of y'all in person too.
Thanks, Zach. Cindy.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm with the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. I'm the Woody Biomass and Forest Products Advisor, mostly covering Central Sierra region, but also do California statewide projects. So good to be here, and hopefully we'll exchange some ideas and probably find a way to work together on biomass projects.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, Jeff Grief.
Hi, Jeff Grief, Plumas Wood Fiber. I'll be presenting a little later today on a project to produce potting substrate, horticultural potting substrate from forest biomass.
Thanks, Jeff. Mike Becker.
Hey, everybody. Second time meeting member. Nice to see some familiar faces and new faces. I'm Mike Becker. Green Terra Energy and Collectron Energy are my California-based businesses, and I'm going to be one of your speakers today, or presenters. Nice to meet everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Jenny. Oh, and you're muted.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny Bernstead. I'm the fiscal director of Cloud Forest Institute, which is a Mendocino County-based environmental education nonprofit. Our main project is the Forest Reciprocity Group, and we are one of the 3 pilot projects that have been funded by the Office of Planning and Research and NCRP to develop a business plan to implement a pole aggregation yard. And it's our mission to popularize the use of this superior building material. And I'm here to learn more about how to market it.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. How about not Vance, Carey?
Oh, I didn't change my name on the screen yet. And I apologize for any background noise. I'm on the road, so I'm not in a quiet office. I'm Carrie Rinney, and I am a member of the Forest Business Alliance team. And I'm one of the folks that you talk with when you request grant technical assistance or attend a workshop. And I try and join as many of these great peer learning network meetings as well. So nice to see all of you.
Carrie. Micah.
Mika. Hey.
Sorry, thank you, Mika.
No worries. Always takes a few times. I am like Jenny, a recipient of the Governor's Office of Planning and Research Woody Feedstock Aggregation Pilot, but we're in Humboldt County. We are focusing on the Dinsmore region and specifically on the cooperative business model for this aggregation entity, aggregation / fuels reduction performing wildfire mitigating entity. And this is my 3rd or 4th time here.
Excellent. Thank you, Mika. Jim.
Hello there. I'm with the Forest Business Alliance team and work with the peer learning network and giving technical assistance to applicants and to the Cal Fire Grant program. And it's great to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And now the other Jim. Oh, we can't hear you even though you're unmuted. We'll come back to you, Jim, if you want to, just as you're checking your settings. Daryl.
Hello, I'm Daryl Webster. I'm with the Plymouth Fire Safe Council, and I am currently developing a biomass disposal facility here in Quincy. And this will be my first meeting.
Excellent. Welcome. So glad you're here. Tom.
Tom Masego, based out of Chicago, independent consultant, deep experience in finance, strategy, business planning areas, and looking to bring those skills into groups like this to help folks as they're building out businesses to make a difference.
Thank you, Tom. And Martin. Oh, Jim, did you get back?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Go ahead,
No?
Jim. Then we'll go to Martin.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
I'm Jim Howman with the Butte County Fire Safe Council, Director of Forest Health, and I'm working in the biomass field a little bit.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Martin.
Good afternoon, Martin Thayer, Biomass Program Director for the Watershed Center. I work statewide. My organization is up in Trinity County. I am based out of Nevada City. And yeah, I'll be talking about some of our efforts on the upcoming panel.
Martin. And I think that's everyone. Is that right? Did I miss anyone? Okay, great. So we'll go ahead and get started with a panel, and just to save time, I'm gonna, rather than read their bios, I'm gonna stick them in the chat so you can all see them. And some folks will actually speak to them in their presentations as well. So we're gonna start with Mike Becker, founder and CEO of Green Terra Energy. Let me get his slide ready, and then I'll share screen so that you all can see that. Okay, does that work? Yep. Okay, Mike, so whenever you're ready, feel free to, oh, and I need to get rid of this. Okay, Mike, there you go.
As soon as I can see myself. Hey, everyone. Thank you very much. I appreciated the introductions because it made me realize that my world keeps getting bigger in this mission that I've embarked in. I'm excited for that. So thanks everybody out there that, do what you do. That hopefully I'm bringing something here to the table today that kind of complements, business as usual and pushes business differently. So in being asked to kind of hop in here for 5 minutes or so, I thought best to maybe kind of explain who Green Terra Energy and Collectron Energy and Auburn Energy Junction ultimately is and how we came to be. Because we come at it from slightly different angle maybe than from a lot of the folks on this call. My business focus when asked that is to create solutions for this big problem we all face. That's climate change, right? And in 2020, after 14 years of energy sector work experiences, Green Terra Energy was established as an ESCO, an energy services company, doing energy efficient retrofits, solar systems, and things like that. But one of the overarching missions of GTE was related to the built environment, and that was to blaze an innovative tier 2 alternative fueling pathway for electric vehicles. And this would be a pathway that ultimately would be recognized by the State of California Air Resources Board, LRT Low Carbon Fuel Standard Program, the carbon credit program. But to accomplish this, GTE would need to develop, own, and operate a couple of key infrastructure nodes, which now are more collectively being referred to as distributed energy resources. So then my mission got just a little bit more complicated. I would need to set out to find and license innovative electricity generation technology that I could essentially fold into the electric vehicle mission. I did. Later that year, I found Energy Junction technology owned by a company called Bioenergy Solutions Incorporated of Alberta, Canada. At the same time, I've also began working with my Rolodex of real estate partners, clients over the years, to deploy, mass deploy level 2 electric vehicle charging station infrastructure through industry best practices, while leveraging local incentives, right, available to offset the need for the capital expense by our site host, right? There was incentives that were pumped down from CNRA through CEC on down to the local munis and or utility companies themselves, right? Which enabled me to provide essentially zero cost capital improvements, right, via EV charging station amenities to my clients where people live, work, and stay. At the same time all of that was going on, I needed to start searching for aspiring electric vehicle charging station company from which to partner further, so that ultimately we could tie together the mission statement. So in 2021, I set out to do that. That same year, it was a busy year. I ended up speaking at the California Energy Commission EPIC Forum, Reimagining Buildings for a Carbon Neutral Future. And later that year, it became very clear to me that I needed to, forge forward with a joint venture with Charlie Charging, LLC of Portland, Oregon, who incidentally was on a mission to enable the everyday driver to seamlessly transition to an electric vehicle by installing EV charging stations wherever cars live. So now I had this complementary distributed energy resources sort of positioned, at least in a mission. I had to then set out to develop, own, and operate what is now an innovative bioenergy facility named Auburn Energy Junction, LLC. So we set out to do that. I contributed to then discussions on energy innovation at the United States Department of Energy, hosted Global Clean Energy Action Forum through the 13th Clean Energy Ministerial and 7th Mission Innovation with UN members, which was a really great experience to learn how other countries were also tackling similar complex problems with respect to climate change. Previously, I'd served 14 years with Air Force Air National Guard, ending as a captain, after honorable service during events that included 9/11. Which brings us to kind of sort of present day, where climate change is still a big problem, right? Despite setting out on this mission nearly 14 years ago, the warming of our planet continues. I happen to believe the science, and then so I continue on this mission of changing some of the things that are happening. This past year, within the last few months, I was informed of a CAL FIRE forest business, California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection through CAL FIRE, their wood products and bioenergy business development Q1 2024 grant. The project funding request, which would, has since been made through an application that we've submitted, would be focused on the construction and operation of the innovative bioenergy facility, which will provide positive benefits across all stakeholder environments. And a few of the examples are, specific to this one facility are included herein. You'll notice in 2024, pending full deployment of this facility, that rests on 0.75 acres of land that we are co-locating with the city of Auburn, California. That's in a planning application phase, so time will tell whether that looks full there or not, but it looks really good. And we're going to be able to utilize 16,800 bone dry tons of wood biomass annually to avoid and sequester 35,000 metric tons per gram CO2e equivalent annually from all business operations, and produce, importantly, 6,300 megawatt hours of carbon negative electricity, while at the same time saving our site host, landlord, right, the city of Auburn, with an estimated $250,000 of operational expenses directly related to the disposition of dewatered human biosolids that are currently being trucked 40 miles north and dipped into landfills, right? And CO2 and methane, and the story continues. So that's the mousetrap that we've created, and how we got here. It's been an arduous process that we're still not finished with yet, but We're excited about it because we keep meeting folks like yourselves. And we like to think that a rising tide floats all ships. So wherever that we see complementary business inputs and outputs, we want to engage. And that's why we're here today. This next slide, and if I'm running over time, please cap me. This is just kind of a 40,000 foot view of the Energy Junction technology and kind of the inputs and outputs. As you can see here, forest fire debris, timber slash, food waste, manure, municipal sludge are all feedstock inputs. And then the outputs, if we follow that green line there, we're looking at carbon negative electricity that can be delivered to the grid, but it could also be used to serve demand from the electric vehicle charging stations that are deployed and plugged in active charging on the Collectron Energy electric vehicle charging station network, which we also own. We could also sell that electricity to PPA counterparties such as the City of Auburn, or in time through a virtual power plant, decentralized model, other service account holders within that respective utilities region. Couple little bullet points. We also, important to the CAL FIRE grant, we have some agricultural product outputs. One of the, Mr. Morel, I think you had mentioned previously, biochar. Biochar is a big component that's coming off of this facility, used in organic farming, land reclamation, and soil remediation. There's also woody vinegar and bio-oil that comes off to essentially replace fertilizer, as you're reading here. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Happy to answer any questions. Again, thank everybody for having me. And if I can, positively benefit, whether directly or indirectly, what you're out there doing day in and day out and trying to accomplish, you please reach me directly. My contact information should be available here.
Thank you so much, Mike. I think we will save questions till the end. So if you have questions specific for Mike, please just write them down and make a note so you don't lose track of them. And then that way we can consolidate the time. And we saved some time in the introduction. So speakers, please take, 7 or 8 minutes as more time is available. So we'll go to Cindy Chen now. Let me get Cindy's slide available and I'll post her bio in the chat. And Cindy, good, you unmuted. Let me just post it here. And let me get the slide going. Well, Cindy, go ahead and I will get the slideshow going, and then but you can go ahead and start.
Sure. So I'm Cindy, and some of you here might probably already met me before. I'm the Woody Biomass and Forest Product Advisor with UC ANR, and I'm mainly I have a background in wood products and biomass products and all things related. So I specialize in innovative and engineered wood products, in particular building materials. And also I do a lot of research on the carbon balance and life cycle assessment on renewable construction materials, especially in particular engineer wood products. And that includes bioproducts and also include woody biomass utilization and biomaterials. So my current work mostly involved exploring market potentials, and I work with, so as a part of UCNR, we are community-based, we are county-based, so we work with a lot of our local stakeholders, in particular for my role, do apply research, and I work with industry partners, nonprofits, community groups to explore market potential. And my goal here right now is to explore the market potential and work with our, industry partners to ensure long-term feedstock availabilities, and we have the market for these bioproducts. Because one problem that I see right now, especially for California, is that there's no lack of biomass or biomaterial. But the problem is where to go, where this material is supposed to go. And there's a lack of market and exploration, and there's a lack of policy and financial support for many of the facilities. And it's another problem is that the forest management regulations in California is very strict. And for our industry partners, the permitting processes and all these administrative things take a long time, and which slows the progress of these facility developments. So what I want to do is really, I'm here because I want to know, of course, first of all, I want to learn more from all of you that what you're doing and all the projects that are currently going on. And I would like to find a way, either through research, either do grant applications or technical assistance, that we can work together and develop a network of people and stakeholders to better improve the market and introduce, say, and probably explore new technologies that can lower the cost and be beneficial for both landowners and industry industry stakeholders and all that. So I'm here, and like I said, we are part of UC, so we do have that UC resources on our side. So my role is really bridge that gap between scientific studies, and the local communities, and put that to a real life use of these research results. So yeah. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will also provide my contact info in the chat. So feel free to reach out.
Great. Thank you so much, Cindy. And again, we will have time for questions. So now we'll have Joel White, and Joel's got his bio and his slides. So I'm going to let him speak to that. Let me just get to your slides, and Joel, you can let me know when you'd like me to advance them, but we'll go ahead just here. I'll share them.
You can skip that first one, Kathleen.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've already introduced myself.
Well, but it's so cute. Let me just give everyone a little view of it.
That's my most recent photo.
It's good to have one that you can share broadly, right? Yeah, great. We'll just make sure everyone can see that, and then I'll go ahead and forward it. But welcome, go ahead. And again, you've got more time, so feel free to take more time, and then we'll have lots of time for Q&A after too. So, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been in the States for about 13 years now. I've come from a construction heavy equipment background. In 2020, well, prior to 2020, I was doing construction in Butte County and recommending some forest thinning to homeowners in the WUI space, and wasn't getting much traction. Then we had the campfire, and people started calling me back and saying, oh, come and do that thinning work. We've found the big problem, as everyone knows, there's no real value in the biomass. So I started exploring ways to reduce that cost for fire safe councils, RCDs, and homeowners. Looked at multiple different applications for biomass, found a lot of red tape and that was sort of killing most of the projects we looked at, and really just started to take it back to first principles and think, what does biomass do naturally? And it falls to the forest floor and becomes really good soil. So in 2023, we purchased the local soil factory in Butte County. You could go to the next slide. And in our due diligence on that acquisition, started finding other environmental and climate issues with the soil industry itself. Now, this is some stats over the next 10 years, 1.8 billion plastic bags, and that's the big potting soil bag size. 15 million tons of Canadian peat moss will be trucked down here all over the US. And then in conjunction to that, there's the use of perlite. So I'll give you a bit of a 1 minute on potting soil that you buy at a big box store. It's pretty much a mixture of a little bit of organic biomass matter that's quite often sterilized. A lot of ag waste goes into that. And then they'll add something like 70% peat moss. They'll add in perlite, which in itself is a really carbon heavy process, and then tip in some synthetic or other types of fertilizers. The soil factory that we bought actually uses 100% forest biomass, or currently we're using a mix of some orchard material and some biomass, some sawmill residues. But effectively, we've got the biome of the earthworm, and we brew that into, or multiply that out, and we use that in conjunction with biomass to create very natural potting soil, very much like the way nature does it on the forest floor. So our goal is to build a pilot facility in Butte County that can scale across the West Coast and tap into that biomass that's sitting right on our doorstep and sort of kill a few birds with one stone. You could go to the next slide. It's by no means the solution to forest biomass. I think if we got some headwind and ourselves and the other potting soil producers all used biomass, we'd be looking at something like 100, about 100,000 acres a year to 200,000 acres a year of forest would support the potting soil industry on the West Coast. There's about a similar amount that we sell out through the door to landscapers and homeowners in bulk. So you're starting to creep up a bit there. And then there's also the agricultural market. So it could make a small dent in the forestry goals that we've got on the West Coast. But yeah, I'm really interested to hear the other presentations today, because like Michael was saying, the tide rises all boats. And yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. Let me stop share here. And then next we'll go to Martin. Let me get Martin's presentation up. There we go. Martin, you can go ahead and unmute and I will share screen. There we go.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for the invite. Again, Martin Tver, I'm Biomass Program Director for the Watershed Center. I do work statewide. I consider myself product and process agnostic, so I'm not focusing on a specific product. I'm focusing on what goes in. How can we utilize the overabundance of forest biomass that we do have, and do something else with it so we don't have to inhale it every summer or during pile burning season. So that's where I'm coming from. The Watershed Center up in Trinity County is I think about 30 years old these days. It started as a small community project around the local kitchen table to see what could be done after the local sawmill shut down in the late 80s, and the watersheds, and some folks got together and said, okay, what can we do with the existing workforce, with the existing skills that we have in town? It's a tiny town. You blink and you miss it, literally. And so how can we continue to employ the mill workers, the loggers? And it has grown exponentially, the organization, over the last 30 years. So we work in Trinity County. Again, I'm in Nevada County. I'm not involved in any of the local projects. I work statewide, and then there's some folks with the Fired Up to Community Network that work on the national level. And most of my program funding comes from both CAL FIRE as well as the U.S. Forest Service, and then some CEC pieces. Again, I'm a product agnostic, so anything from bioenergy to biochar, advanced wood building products, and anything in between are things that I'm trying to address and promote and communicate and assist. And I'm glad to see that several of of our OPR feedstock pilot projects members are here on the call as well. The Watershed Center facilitates, manages the North Coast part of this OPR project, and so we're shepherding these groups through this wild process where we are learning, and hope to make some progress. You can go to the next slide, please. So, and I wanted to use this as an example of what the Watershed is doing, the Watershed Center is doing, and as a form of both encouragement and advice, because talking about biomass and what do we do with it is not a new challenge. It's not a new problem. That's been going on for decades, and a lot of people have tried, and some have succeeded, and many have not. And I prefer to say haven't succeeded yet. Just because certain things didn't work 10, 15, 20 years ago doesn't mean they might not work nowadays. A lot of the environment and policy and the funding has changed, so we should keep trying. Nick Goulet, our director, wrote this piece, Fantastic Failure, Biomass Utilization, Surviving the Pursuit of a Bright Idea, in 2018. And I put the QR code down there. You can scan it with your phone. You can get to the article. You have the link down there as well. He wrote it much better than I could explain it now in 5 minutes. But this was an idea, again, in the 2014, I think, was when they started. I started with the Watershed Center in 2018, so this was before I started. They had this idea, hey, let's do firewood, commercial firewood production. They had an abundant wood supply, they thought, an existing workforce, market opportunities, and they said, okay, let's go for it. They had a business partner to work with. They had a functioning Trinity County Fire Safe Council, a forest collaborative group, and productive forest lands around, both in the private and public sector. It all sounded great. It all sounded perfect, and they jumped in at considerable cost, taking on quite a bit of risk for a small NGO. And yeah, then things happened, right? Life happens. Life is what happens while you're planning what to do next. And so the wood supply projections didn't turn out quite as good as they thought they were, even though they had written agreements. Then large wildfire season 2015 hit, and if forests burn down, if lumber burns, it changes the mindset of both of the landowners, right? What do we do with it? What can we salvage? Where do we go from here? Another piece of the equation is, how do you move this material off the land? So you need loggers, you need truck drivers, and everybody in between to get the tree off the stump into a facility. And when these fires hit, and there was a lot of salvage logging to do, these resources got sucked up by the bigger players, right? So there was nobody left for a small entity like the Watershed Center. And then, so that was 2015, and private landowners mostly shifted and said, we're not selling the low value stuff that is usually goes into firewood production. We want to salvage whatever we can from our saw lumber, and so they shifted what they were selling. And then
Just about 1
2017.
more minute, Martin.
Yes,
Just about
thank
one.
you.
Yep.
And then 2017 trade spat with Canada, the softwood lumber agreement. Again, it shifted who was selling what, who was buying what, and yeah, the whole project, Tule Creek Forest Products, was not feasible anymore. So after 3 years, the Watershed Center decided to pull the plug. And yeah, so there's still an old mill site sitting there that's not being used. And but we're not giving up. So we're trying to figure out what to do and where to go from here, with collaboration, cooperation, a lot of other groups that are active in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And lastly, we'll move to Jeff. Let me, and I forgot to put Martin's bio in the chat. I'll do that shortly. And Jeff, if you want to go ahead and start, I'll get your slide up here just a moment.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeff Grief. I live in Plumas County and went through the Dixie fire. My house did not burn because I did the thinning work that was the Fire Safe Council told me to do. We were all in shock mode after the fire. We're looking for solutions for biomass, just like everyone else. I came across the idea that's been done in Europe and the East Coast of processing conifer wood chips into horticultural potting substrate for the horticultural industry, both the commercial nurseries and for the retail sales in bags. So that's what I'm working on. I can pull up my slide if you can
There we
give me
go.
share. Oh,
I
there you
got
go. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so my goal is to set up a factory, such as the picture you see in the background there. That's bunkers where material has been deposited after being produced. I want to set up a factory in Plumas County, processing wood chips into this product for the horticultural industry, which is basically a substitute for peat moss. So the reason they use peat moss in pots is because it drains really well. It is perfect for growing plants. But there are a lot of problems with peat moss. They're looking for substitutes. I'll get to that in a second here. So anyway, we know that commercializing the biomass is going to be the best way to remove all that excess biomass that we have to pay the cost of getting it out of the forest. Horticultural industry needs a substitute for peat moss. The peat harvest has been greatly reduced because of climate change. The peat moss that we use comes from Canada. They can only harvest it in the spring and the summertime, but they've been getting so much rain they can't harvest it. So the horticultural industry is really concerned because they're not getting as much peat as they need, and the cost is very high. And also the greenhouse gas impacts of mining peat bogs are pretty high. So there's a market. They need material. In California alone, they're using probably 1 million tons of potting mix every year, which is made from various ingredients like Joel was talking about. There's a definite market. They need this stuff. They're using it now. They use wood fiber that comes from North Carolina or from Northern Europe. So believe it or not, some of the horticultural industry in California is importing biomass from Europe because they can't get what they need made here in California. What I wanted to do is set up a factory producing this material. There are 3 different methods of producing it. One is a hammer mill, the second is extruders, and then there's plate refiners. Plate refiners are what they use in the paper pulp industry, and that's very expensive, so I'm not going to try to go there. But I want to start getting this going with a 2-phase approach. The first phase, excuse me, is to get a hammer mill as kind of a pilot project to validate the concept. So a hammer mill is a pretty common technology and can be used to make wood fiber substrate that will drain well, but it doesn't produce the highest quality product. It will be of use to a limited part of the horticultural industry. But it's a good way to get going because it's a less expensive way to get the project started. So that's what I want to do to get started. And then once we've proved the concept, I want to get some of the better machines, the extruders that are made in Europe, and a baling setup to do scale production of a higher quality product to ship out by truck to the horticultural industry throughout the state and the West Coast. I've got numerous grant applications out, CAL FIRE and USDA, to try to get funding to do this. But I think the best way to do this is to get started with an existing business and kind of start small and get bigger. So I've been talking to Joel White, who spoke earlier, and we are planning to try to get a hammer mill and start producing wood fiber substrate there at his facility down in Butte. And he would sell that to the industry and perhaps mix it with his compost, etc. But anyway, it's a way to get started in an existing business. So hopefully I'll get a USDA grant to buy a nice, great big hammer mill and plunk that down at Joel's place, and we'll get started. So I think that producing wood fiber substrate for the horticultural industry in California can be a very substantial use of our biomass. It's not a silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems, but we could have numerous facilities in the state, and the horticultural industry will use it. They need it. There's a market. They have to adapt to the fact that peat moss is not what it used to be. So it's something that's going to grow in the future. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm dedicated to trying to get this project going. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So we will go ahead and move to questions. So you're welcome to ask a general question or of any of the speakers. And you could either raise your hand and I'll see you in the corner. You can put your question in the chat as well, and I'll monitor that, or you can just unmute, whatever is easiest. So we'll go ahead and open this up for questions. And our intention this time, rather than doing breakout rooms, especially if there's a lot of questions, is just be able to allow plenty of time for Q&A with all the speakers. And thank you so much to all the speakers, especially getting in so much information in a short period of time. Speakers have questions for other ones, that's fine too. Sorry, go ahead.
Question for Michael Becker. Where is the facility that you have where you're generating electricity now, Michael?
Hey, Jeff, thanks for your question. Can you, I presume you can hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're in the middle of an active planning application with the City of Auburn City Council to co-locate our facility at the wastewater treatment plant over a 25-year performance operating land lease. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. So you're in the planning stages now of for building the
Yeah,
facility.
yeah, exactly. We're pending a conditional use permit, which we are optimistic we'll have this year, but we cannot control public-private partnerships.
Good luck.
Thank you. That being stated, we can move operations off-site. We don't necessarily need the human biosolids component as a portion of the feedstock. The technology itself can run on woody biomass, and we could go find a acre anywhere within Placer, Butte, or Plumas and make this work as long as we have infrastructure interconnection with the local utility.
Thanks, Mike. David, go ahead.
Thanks. This is a follow-on from Mike in a couple of pieces. Have you finished your CEQA review of the proposed installation? One, let me cascade some questions and then turn it back to you. Two, look at what's going on in the city of Windsor and Sonoma County, where they're acquiring a PIREG machine for wastewater solids management and pyrolysis. And three, what are your plans for air permitting of the pyrolysis element in Butte County? We're going absolutely crazy with a high quality pyrolysis machine in Napa County that's here ready to roll. And we are stuck in a national EPA air quality requirement, which is treating us not as a pyrolysis machine to make progress in this world, but as a municipal solid waste incinerator. We don't do incineration and we don't manage municipal solid waste. So eager to hear what you're able to do with air permitting in Auburn. Maybe we'll ship our machine up there.
Yeah.
But it is it's a national rule we're dealing with, so we need an air district willing to take on EPA. We got a final thought before I turn it over to Mike. We have an exemption pending with US EPA, but we're 4 months in and still waiting.
Copy. Well, that's a lot of information unpacked, and I wish you continued success in the developmental process that you've embarked. Let me try and break down what I thought I heard were 3 different types of questions. Maybe one of which I can speak to directly as with very simple response, and that is, where are we with the CEQA process? I pay smart people for that. I have PhDs in environmental engineering consultants for that. But what I can tell you is the requisite CEQA Air Quality Management District, Placer County Water Agency. I think it should just be local building and inspection beyond those 3. Will be handled by our environmental consultant, which is on retainer from us from the very beginning. And their name is Ashworth Leninger Corp. Happy to drop them into the meeting chat. They may be a resource for you as well. So that's the short answer there. That'll commensurate with engineering, full engineering, and full building review, and fuel state of California environmental regulatory compliance, or what it was affectionately referred to as the gauntlet in front of us. So, but I've been assured from our retained experts and PhDs that what we set out to do, which is what I shared with you at the very beginning, is to create a innovative tier 2 alternative fueling pathway specific to electric vehicles in the state of California by way of an innovative technology such as the Energy Junction facility can be achieved. and such, I embarked on that mission. So my understanding, as was submitted as part of the CAL FIRE grant application, which was that confidence or understanding of the CEQA process, is that we are best case scenario at a 6 to 9 month turn time from the conditional use permit having been achieved. Due to the nature of our facility being fast and flexible, meaning we could be up and built in little as 90 days. We could commence, the life cycle of greenhouse gas emissions, the LCA process, the mitigated neg deck, all those things that are complementary to the process of being approved within 3 to 6 months post-commissioning, which places our full round trip or knowledge base, the expertise of having done this potentially at Q2 2025, end of maybe Q3. I am guilty of auto-suggesting finished projects. I guess that's part of what developer entrepreneurs do. That being said, we think we understand fully. We've been informed expertly, and our expectation is that we're commissioned in 25. So to the extent that I can help out with some of the things, if you're still dealing with that, I'd be happy to. But I don't fully have the answer quite yet, if you understand that. Regarding PERG, I've checked their technology out. Actually, I think it's a really great technology. A little outside of what I'm specifically looking to accomplish through distributed energy resource deployments. But I think it's a really neat deal. There's a lot of great technologies out there right now. And maybe I missed your third one, but please remind me if I did.
You just muted back, David. And we'll just take another minute for this, and then we're going to go on with another question.
The big
Go ahead.
challenge is the air emissions permit, which the county air pollution control district will have to issue. The challenge is whether they'll be willing to risk a lawsuit from US EPA. The Bay
Got
Area
you.
County Management District was unwilling to do that, which is why I'm pending a waiver. If we get the waiver, it will apply more broadly, presumptively, for pyrolysis technologies, thank God. But until then, we're in a crazy situation where the federal rule on municipal solid waste incineration stands in the way of running an effective biomass pyrolysis unit to make biochar.
Unless one of the benefits to the Energy Junction deployment is that we're in an enclosed sprung structure greenhouse environment. There are mitigated or fugitive emissions that result as a result of the manufacturing process, which is high flash pyrolysis and anaerobic digestion later in the stages. So we actually utilize those effluents in the manufacturing of the agricultural products that come off the back end, as well as the electricity products that are moving over to CAISO or through power purchase agreements or indirectly to fuel electric vehicles on our EV charging station network. So we may, and that's to say that we may not come up against the same thing that you're experiencing. But again, Ashworth Leonard Group, I would say, tell me what to do. and I hope that they would, and I suspect they would.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for those
Yep.
questions, David.
Thank you.
Vance, go ahead.
Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah, Cindy, I had a question for you on research, especially the work that you're doing on innovative wood products, like what you're focused on, how much is that looking at feasibility and kind of deployability or even scalability of those technologies or equipment or whatever you're looking at.
Yeah, thank you, Vance. So right now, we're looking at basically all aspects of engineered wood products and other bioproducts. So I know, so for example, we have right now at UCNR, we have a group of people who are focusing on biomass and wood products. So, and we have 3 advisors, including myself, who are county-based. We have another person down in Southern California and Riverside, who's heavily involved in green hydrogen. And we are currently in the progress of hiring another person up north a biomass person up north. So hopefully that'll give us a chance to have the state covered. And so that allow us to do more work that's focusing on biomass and bioproducts. So in terms of feasibility studies and all that, we actively work with different partners to apply for these research grants and do projects that look into either the market potential and the viability of using different types of biomass. Right now we just work with so currently we just got a grant. We work with alongside Lawrence Berkeley National Lab to look at the different types of biomass and what type of what type of products different type of biomass is the most suitable for. So right now we're at the initial stage of that research project right now. That one focuses on the Central California, Central Valley, but it has a potential of expanding this project to the entire state, because we have biomass all over the place right now. And so we do and also I'm currently working with some of my colleagues also to apply for some grants to explore the market potential for these smaller types of biomass projects like biochar and its applicability to soil as a soil amendment and to these small organic farms. So so plenty of things to look at, but it really depends on basically we try to cover all aspects of it. And in terms of my expertise with engineered wood products, is that my vision is to look into developing possibly an engineered wood product industry in California as well. And that I'd be happy to talk more about that, because there's plenty of things going on in the wood product industry. So hopefully, in the future, I'll get a chance to talk more about that. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of the time, other people's questions.
Thanks, Cindy. And we can come back to that if we have time. So Mika, go ahead. You're muted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. My question is also for Cindy. Our project we're in the early stages deciding on the aggregation entity type, and is your expertise seems relevant to where we're at in the early stages. Do you have the capacity to potentially get funding, or maybe we could find funding to do market research for what products would work best in our community, considering our local issues?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely for a potential, especially sorry Micah, I missed where exactly you're located right now.
We're in Humboldt County.
Oh yeah, Humboldt County. Yes.
We have I work with a logger that we have a facility designated, and we have access to biomass at large volumes, just no idea yet what to do with it in any significant quantity. And so, partnering with an academic institution to kind of get that data, so we know which markets are most feasible for the community in the short term and the long term, as we're in the really early stages of our plan.
Sure. So I don't know if you already have contact with some of our forestry advisors located in Humboldt County already. We have forestry advisors and also a community economic advisor located just in Humboldt County. I know if you haven't already, I'd be happy to connect you with them. And since they're located in Humboldt County, I think they might be good starting point. But of course, as a woody biomass advisor, I'd be happy to go up there when I get a chance to go up there, and we can either have a face-to-face conversation, or I can take a look at your project, and perhaps we can find a way to definitely do something to do some project together. I'd be happy to do that. Like I said, I also cover, I don't just cover, although my focus is in Central Sierra in Central California, but I also cover, we also do like statewide programs. So I'd be happy to keep in contact about that. But let me know. Reach out. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to connect you with our other advisors that's locally based.
Thanks for that, Cindy. And we'll make sure to include the contact information when we send out any notes from this as well. Although some people I think already have that, put that in the chat as well. Yeah, great. Thank you. Jim, Adrian, you had a question.
Yes, I had a question for Martin that I don't want to make it too big, but I'm really impressed when someone is bold enough to look back and learn some lessons from an experience. So the firewood paper, I really look forward to reading that. And when we're doing these kinds of initiatives, there's so many factors we don't know, so we push forward in a lot of uncertainty, and then we run into things that we didn't see and things fall apart sometimes. I was just wondering if you see any easy lessons you could share with this group just about, so we're in a new context and everyone's optimistic, everyone's has a vision, and I'm just wondering what we could benefit from the learning from that the firewood experience that the Watershed Center wrote about, currently. Is there anything we can learn as we start in a new chapter of some of this work?
I think what we learned was you can have the best laid plans, and then things that are completely out of your control, like a wildfire, like an international trade conflict, they can derail pretty much anything, even if you had every single duck lined up in your local community and somebody shoots that duck. So it's almost impossible. I think what's important is to think about resiliency and not getting stuck maybe on a single product. What killed the firewood project was actually the supply. There was not enough feedstock, not enough material coming in because of a variety of reasons, be it transportation, workforce, agreements for feedstock, all the things that the business needs to put in place to even develop a business plan, but then something happens. So I don't think there is a good silver bullet to save all this or avoid all this. Yeah, sorry, I think it's important to stay nimble, to diversify, to think about products that actually have a market, rather than coming up with something cool that doesn't have a market. Most wood products are not like an iPhone. I mean, 15 years ago, we didn't know we needed smartphones. And then some dude comes around and with Apple, and yeah, no, we all have it. So firewood is not that sexy.
So
Thank you.
sad.
That was great. That's great.
Thanks, Martin. Joel, I believe you also had a question.
Yeah, along the same vein, Martin. So the way we've structured moving forward is I'm a licensed timber operator. We've also got a company that is commercial or CDL trucking. And my thought behind that is to control the vertical, or control that feedstock as much as we can, and also make good decisions for that vertical so that we can look at being responsible along the way and making changes for good along the way. Do you think if the firewood project had that vertical integration, it would have still hit the same roadblocks?
Maybe. Let me turn that question around to you. Do you feel as an entrepreneur, would you remain committed to your product, even though as an LTO, as a truck driver, suddenly sawmills will pay you much better price for what you can ship to them? Would you still stick with making horticultural product if your margin is much smaller? So I mean that's part of what hit the firewood project, right? Because the truckers, the LTOs said we do salvage logging, we get these trees to mills who can actually still pay us a good price. And then with the softwood lumber agreement battle, there was less coming in from Canada, more was harvested locally. So the demand was for local LTOs, truckers, to move the logs from a California site to a California mill. And they just said, no, we're not moving. And the landowner said, we're not cutting the lower value stuff. So I don't know if vertical integration, I mean, it comes down to your commitment to sticking with that integration.
I think 20 years ago, I used to chase the money, but after nearly 30 years in business, I think a steady workflow is better. And I think a lot of these products that we're talking about, if the end product and end consumer is outside of the traditional forestry milling market, it will help flatten out the supply and demand. And I think that's one thing. If biomass is going to a strictly traditional timber market, it's going to fluctuate with that all the time. If it goes outside of that, you've still got fluctuations with the economy, but not directly tied. And that was one thing I guess I was looking for in the iteration of finding a solution. So that's our logic behind it anyway.
Yeah, and that's what I meant earlier. Just because something didn't work out 10, 20 years ago, it might work nowadays, right? Because there are operators like yourself who figured out, okay, it's not just chasing every single buck. Let's see if we can smoothen the fluctuations and have a slow but steady employment and revenue. And so yes, and then it's very local, right? Yeah. And I wanted to touch on sorry, but
identifying your core businesses outside of the forestry market is what we need to keep in mind. And if you're reliant on a vertical that's their core business is the forestry market, you're gonna end up sort of getting those fluctuations, unfortunately.
Yes. I want to touch on what Vance asked earlier about, I think you asked Cindy about how I think scalable and he asked not everybody has the patience and the funding to put down a whatever $50 million bioenergy plant and put steel in the ground and then have a stranded asset. So it's certainly challenging, and over the last few years, I've developed a document, mobile modular wood processing equipment. I'll put it in the chat. It's an online doc with a range of different wood processing equipment, anything from a flame cap kiln and the air curtain burners and log splitter. So it has a whole range of stuff, and it's modular. So where I see the advantage is you're not scaling, or you're not committing to whatever 5 megawatts, but if you can have smaller modules, you can ramp it up and down depending on A, your feedstock, and B, your demand. And I think looking at those technologies can be beneficial, especially for community-based operations.
Thank you, Martin, and thanks for those questions, Joel. We're almost at time, but does anyone have any other questions or comments based on anything that's come up since? Thanks for putting that in the chat, Martin.
Welcome.
Anyone else or any other? If there's no other questions, we can just go to any other questions or topics about anything before we.
Joel, I'm curious what kind of triggered that moment of going from chasing the money to looking at a more even keeled funding. Was there a specific thing that made that happen, or was it an aha moment, or what was it?
So my primary business in Australia from early 2000s until about 2010 was disaster construction. So if a hurricane or a flood came through, we had standing contracts with insurance companies, and they'd sort of, here's 300 houses to rebuild, or here's a suburb to go and pull all the drywall out of every house. And I had 65 direct employees and then probably another 100 subs on that. And that seemed to be about the limitation of what we could do. As we were getting over that, it almost became not profitable. And I think that taught me like the low and slow type of thing. Plus it was just an absolute nightmare. You couldn't pay me enough to run that business again. So I think it was more just age brought that sort of thinking around for me. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
Maturity would be the word.
Wisdom comes slowly sometimes, but then it's there.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Or any other thoughts or announcements or anything that anyone wants to share with the group before we wrap up?
If you guys want to see something we're about to release, I'm happy to share it. It's an analysis of the CAL FIRE funding that we did. It's geographic. We'll probably add the Forest Service, and we'll add new rounds to this this analysis. But I'm happy to share it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
if folks are interested. Let's see here.
Can you share with?
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
So right now, if you just go to forestbiz.info, this will come up, this page. And what our goal, we have a Forest Business Alliance website, But one thought that we had is that we're starting to compile a lot of documents. Some of those are more focused on how to, you know, develop a portfolio to fund your project or program, or how to write a proposal. Some of them are, you know, going to be focused on other things like, you know, writing a business plan that we have templates for on the website too. But we kind of thought having a handbook or a place that's easily accessible with all the information in one place might be a good idea. So that this is the start of that. When you bring it up, it'll probably be in this light mode, but if you want to go into stealth mode and act like you're a cool coder living in the Bay Area, you can go into dark mode. But we'll be adding chapters to this as we go along. The first chapter is this funding analysis, and what we did here was we're basically just trying to get a sense of where the money is going. So I'm just going to scroll down to this slide. And this analysis right now is pretty cursory. We just did it by amount of successful grants going by county. But you can see the patterns, like not very much going to non-forested areas of California, a lot going to the kind of the Central Sierra, fair amount going up here into the Cascades. It changes a bit if you look at the amount requested versus rewarded. And I don't want to give a whole review of this, but we kind of wanted to look at where counties, which is by turn, it's like folks submitting proposals by those counties are the most successful. So Sac County, Sutter, Alpine, these kind of lighter blue, have a lower amount of requests, but higher amount funded. Counties like Plumas and Shasta are putting in a lot of proposals, but also getting a lot funded. Lighter colors, SoCal, not getting much funded. And then you can see like Sierra Cascade area, lots of proposals, a fair amount funded. North Coast, similar, but a lot lower compared to the Sierra Cascade area. And then it goes down from Central Coast to SoCal. And then there's just some other stuff if you want to check out, but that's just the kind of going thing that we're going to start with on this. It's a book of sorts. It's just going to be a collection of articles. And we're going to share this more widely in the coming weeks. So feel free to share with folks right now if you want, but we'll make a bigger announcement. Probably share this on some social media posts and things like that. But if you know of folks that are interested or thinking about applying later or have applied a couple times but still trying to figure it out, please share with them too.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Vance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be very interested. So whenever you're ready, when we can.
Yeah, I'll send the link out
would be
to it,
great.
like on the listserv, and it'll be on the website as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do have an e-newsletter for the biomass working group.
Oh, that'd be cool, Martin.
I push out
That'd be
every
awesome.
few
Yeah,
weeks. So
I'll try to send that to you.
that'd be great. And along those lines, we have our monthly meeting of the California Forest Biomass Working Group tomorrow, and Wisewood Energy will be talking about their current and future projects in terms of forest bioenergy around California. They've smartened up and figured out that the interconnection queue is so long and so clogged. They are mostly working on behind the meter projects for this. And then the other presenter will be the Fabric workshop. They're bringing mass timber production, hopefully in the next few years, to California. So we'll have 2 presentations there tomorrow.
Thanks for that, Martin.
Excellent. Anything else from anyone?
When are we supposed to hear on the recent round of CAL FIRE grant?
Don't know, but I would guess, I think last year was about May-ish for the same grant round, but sometime in the next 3-4 weeks, I would imagine.
Does anyone hear about the U.S. Forest Service Wood Products Infrastructure Assistance grants?
Yeah, the wood innovation grants, typically there's usually 2 or 3 different kinds. If you do a search online for Forest Service Wood Innovations Grant Program, they typically come out with their RFPs in August-ish, sometimes.
I submitted one. I was wondering when when
Oh,
awards
when you're gonna find out. Oh, yeah, because that was due in January.
December.
That's right. Yeah, so it was a while ago. I'm surprised they haven't announced it yet.
It's usually around May as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll share a little bit of good news with Jeff. I think I've secured a hammer mill. I reached out to the California Olive Company, friend of a friend, and looks like they've got one for us.
Okay, yeah, let's talk.
Congrats.
Thanks everyone for speaking today. Really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone for staying and sticking around and such great conversations. And also Bodhi just put another link in the chat, which we'll make sure to capture for the notes as well. And Vance has asked, there's a question, do you have a link to the California Forest Biomass Working Group meeting?
That's Martin, if you could share that, please.
Yeah, so if you want to be added to my mailing list, just send me an email. It's still a little bit hands-on, the whole operation. So I'll add you to my mailing list, and then you'll get invites to the Biomass Working Group as well as the e-newsletter. So it's
great.
It's not a whole lot. So you get an email every few weeks.
Got it. And I see Bodhi's giving the thumbs up for that. Thanks, Martin. Okay, well, thank you all. So we will not see you in this format next month, but there'll be the in-person, and then we'll be back in June for this and have so much fun. You'll see Vance and Jim and Sherry Lynn all at the in-person. So looking forward to it. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thanks all.